Hello, everyone. Welcome on in. We're going to let everyone trickle in from the waiting room. So please feel free to grab a snack, grab some water, use the restroom, and we'll get started in just a moment. Thank you. All right, now that our numbers have stabilized, welcome to all of you joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are so excited to have you all joining us for our Getting to Know the Duke Community Standard and Business Life Policy webinar of our Summer Transition series. My name is Cody Brandon. I serve as the Graduate Assistant for the Office of New Student Family Programs here at Duke University, and we are so thrilled you're here to join us today. If you've been a part of our previous STSs, welcome back. This is your first one to join us, welcome. We host weekly webinars to ensure that we are giving you all the most critical information from the hands of our campus experts into the hands of our incoming students, you all. Today, we have invited our campus partners from the Office of Student Community Standards and Student Conduct, as well as the Office of Housing and Residence Life, to answer a few questions about housing policies and how to build a strong community here at Duke University. Before I pass it off to my colleagues, I want to go over a few housekeeping rules to get us started. So, as I mentioned, yes, the webinar is being recorded. You can access this webinar and any others that we have previously recorded at our NSFP website or on our NSFP YouTube page. Just give us about 48 to 72 hours to do those transcriptions and upload that there. The chat box on this Zoom has been disabled, so please use the Q&A feature you see at the bottom left hand of your screen to ask your questions. We'll have about 10 to 15 minutes after the presentation today to go over some questions, so please be sure to wait until the end to get your questions answered. Most of them will be answered live, and so our folks in the background here will be answering to our questions via text, via private text, or answering them out loud. And so without further ado, I want to pass it over to my friend and colleague, Dean Jill, to get us started. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dean Jill Solomon. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm so excited to be here. I'm an associate dean in residence life, and I get the absolute pleasure of working directly with our first year students, and it's going to be such a great year. So I'll pass it off to Aaron to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. I can't see your faces, but hopefully you can feel the energy that Jill and myself are going to be bringing today. My name is Aaron Elijah Jr. I use the he series pronouns. I serve as Associate Dean of Students within the Office of Student Conduct, Dean of Students Department. Thank y'all for being here.
So exciting. Yeah, Cody, you can slip to the next slide. All right, so a little overview of what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about what our offices do generally and some general policies, the Duke community standards, important policies and community standards for residence life, conduct meeting types, what happens if you violate a policy, Duke University reporting policies, so where you can report any issues that you may have, and just staying safe generally on campus. So the first department, obviously the best one of the two, housing and residence life. So housing and residence life is a really amazing department who does really, really great things, and we get to touch all students as they enter into Duke. So we have two campuses. That's East Campus is where you all will be lovingly moving in, unless you're a transfer student. You might be going to West, but East Campus is all first years, and West Campus is all of our upper class. It is a big there's a big campus, a lot of buildings, but we're all really excited to be here with you. The folks that you'll hear from the most are probably your RAs or resident assistants, and your RCs or residence coordinators. Resident assistants are undergrads or graduate students who live directly on the halls with you or your student, and they are amazing resources that will help you get through your first year or your transfer year, depending on where you're at. And then Your RCs or residence coordinators are professional staff members who live on campus to help respond to emergencies and help to make amazing community with your students. So if there are ever any issues, please, if you remember any acronyms from this, your RA are folks who live directly on your hall with you, and your RC are folks who are professional staff members who live on campus are always accessible and ready to help.
Alrighty. So, what is the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards? That's our acronym OSCCS, and the Duke Community Standards. So, our office strengthens personal responsibility and accountability through investigation and resolution of alleged violations of university policies. I do not want you all to think that, oh, if I'm ever documented for whatever reason, oh, I'm guilty before innocent. No, everything's alleged until we meet. When we receive a report, we analyze it, we assess it. Either my team or any of the RCs may review it, and they're trained to. Everything's alleged until we meet. We're going to have a formal meeting to where we want to know your perspective. Context is key. We want to analyze what transpired and then just take accountability off of what transpired. Again, any student named in a report of a possible violation is presumed to not be in violation unless you accept the responsibility or the process makes a determination that you're responsible. We make decisions based off preponderance of evidence. So courtrooms use behind a reasonable doubt. Some institutions, Cornell, use clear and convincing. We use preponderance, so 50% in the feather. Is it more likely than not that a student violated something? And again, the Duke Community Standard is a body of beliefs combined with policies, procedures that express a standard of behavior that all students agree to uphold as a commitment to enhancing our learning. So again, we want you all to be great model citizens in the classroom as well as outside the classroom, and we want you to hold high the Duke Standard. Next slide. So why does the Duke Community Standard exist? I'll tell you why. So this is going to help guide students to make decision making within the Duke community and beyond. A lot of times, conflict, some students that I meet with regularly or every now and then may be afraid or hesitant to, manage conflict management, whether it's with their professor, whether it's with a peer, or it's just with another student. So there's a way to have healthy conflict. We want to help students enhance a climate of honesty, fairness, respect, and accountability. I think being in a community, you're going to have differences. Not everyone is going to be the same. So how do you show up when someone doesn't see a certain thing as you? It's important in terms of not what you say, but how you say it. And then again, we want to create a sense of belonging, of shared ownership and responsibility for the community in which we share. So whether students live in a on campus or not, when they're in a classroom, they're amongst the community. When they're walking alongside the BC Plaza, they're within a community. So just making sure that everyone's responsible for how they show up within a community. And when things happen, because again, like all humans, we all have bad moments. How do we have educational conversations and look at things in a restorative lens? Not necessarily, oh, I'm out to get you, you're going to get in trouble, your Duke career is over. That's not the case here. So we really want you all to recognize that, hey, when I make a mistake, because I'm going to, fail, I'm going to make mistakes. How do I learn from it? I'm not my biggest mistake. And how could I use that as a learning experience? Next slide. So important policies and community standards, please feel free to get out your phones, scan the QR code. This will lead you to our Duke Community Standard website. A long time ago, we used to have a 75-page PDF. We have a beautiful website, so feel free to use that. This will show you some of our policies that we have. Every year, we review our policies and make edits and whatnot. So this will help you see things for my visual learners out there, just what I'm referring to. Next slide. So the most prevalent DCS and housing policies, alcohol consumption, academic dishonesty, cannabis and other illegal drugs, fire safety, smoking, guest policy, hazing, harassment, quiet hours, and sexual misconduct in terms of just resources, education. Next slide. So alcohol consumption, underage possession consumption, some of this is really standardized amongst federal law, right? Students under the age of 21 are not permitted to purchase, possess, or consume alcoholic beverages. Being under the influence of any amount of alcohol while underage is considered a violation of policy. East Campus is a dry campus, meaning that alcohol is prohibited on East Campus regardless of age. Unsafe, irresponsible behavior may look like making alcohol available to underage drinkers, consuming an excessive quantity in a short amount of time, participating in drinking games and parties through beer pongs, or attempted use of fraudulent identification to obtain alcohol, It happens every year. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And again, it's just a learning experience, right? Like I know more students, that we meet with here at Duke may have obtained a fraudulent ID back in high school and bring it thinking, hey, it's okay. Please don't bring it. Leave it where it's at. If you have it, don't even say you have it. Just keep it pushing. But with that, just being mindful of those things. So ideally, fraudulent IDs, DPD will confiscate, and we'll have an educational conversation off of what happened, right? So these are just most prevalent things that we see. So just being mindful of that. And we like to be as transparent as we can because it's not necessarily out to get you type moment, but just education. Next slide. Amnesty. So we understand that students who experience serious health safety risks, such as alcohol intoxication, drug use, whether voluntary or involuntary, hazing or similar concerns, may be reluctant to seek help or report incidents due to fear of disciplinary action. So for us, we have an amnesty provision that we revised this year that does not provide you a free pass or, freedom of accountability, but this gives you an opportunity to really engage in an educational conversation regarding your safety, responsibility, and personal growth. We have students who may be transported to the hospital for alcohol use, or may be concerned with, hey, I consumed something and I'm not feeling well. I'm going to call for help. We're not going to put you to the disciplinary process for that. You made that call for yourself, or someone made that call for you. It's going to be a adaptable resolution process that we call this within the amnesty provision. Next slide. So with this, the amnesty provision applies to any students whose health or safety is at risk and who, in good faith, seeks medical assistance for themselves. Any student or student organization who, in good faith, seeks medical assistance from university personnel, local law enforcement, first responders, for another individual whose health or safety is at risk. Any student or student organization that swiftly takes action to any behaviors related to hazing. This is important. If again, if you see something, say something. Again, I talked about we're in a community. So if you see that someone's unable to assist themselves, picking up the phone, calling 911 on their behalf, they will thank you. And that's just being a great, integrity, those things. So we want to make sure that we have a community of, hey, if we see something, we're going to say something. This amnesty provision does not excuse or protect students who repeatedly or deliberately violate this university policy, exempt a student or student organization from any criminal consequences associated with the use of alcohol, drugs, investigations, or findings, or preclude the university from addressing additional policy violations discovered in investigation. Let's say you are, drunk out of your mind, you are uh, intoxicated, but before that, you may have physically assaulted someone. You have amnesty for the alcohol piece, but we're going to have a disciplinary conversation about the physical abuse piece. So really making sure that, we're very clear with what it protects and what it doesn't. And of course, with hazing, we'll get into that because that's a new federal law that we've all had to kind of get in compliance with. Next slide. So with it, biggest thing is, okay, Dean Lash, I'm transported, I get discharged. What's going to happen? Next steps. So no formal disciplinary action or outcome will be imposed solely for violations related to alcohol, drugs, or hazing by the reporting Duke student who sought medical assistance for themselves, or for this Duke student and or Duke student organization who sought medical assistance for another student. However, we may require you to attend a alcohol or drug education program. Do well, great people, Joel, Michelle, Sarah Campbell, having a great introductory educational regarding your relationship with substance use, or lack of relationship with substance use. You'll complete an educational assignment, things of that nature. And we do reserve the right to require parental notification in the event amnesty related to a transport of a student under the age of 21. And then, of course, with any students who are minors, we are obligated to notify them, federal law. Next slide. Academic dishonesty, my favorite. So most of my reports is academic dishonesty. AI, unauthorized use. So really, this QR code, please scan it. Please scan it. The biggest thing that we see in our office is the cheating aspect, heavily unauthorized materials. You'll Chem 101, lab reports, you're in your lab. Hey, you could work with your lab partner, but your own lab reports must be your own work. Most students recognize, oh, wait, I'm gonna just copy my lab partner. They'll detect it easily, detect it. So just being mindful of any submitted work, make sure it's your own. Definitely, being very clear in terms of not lying, communicating untruths. The heaviest thing that we see is the unauthorized use, but then just making sure you're aware of those things. And anytime you are involved, a incident report is submitted within academic dishonesty, you cannot drop that class or submit an S or U within that class. So just something to think about. Next slide. Faculty student resolution. So, for one time minor cases of academic dishonesty, if you mistakenly violated the policy and if a faculty member wanted to pursue a faculty student resolution, it's a conversation and it's only for first time uses, minor cases. It's a conversation that your professor will have with you and say, hey, I noticed you cheated on this test that violates my syllabus. As a result, you get a 0 on this assignment. You get 10% from this assignment off. You have 3 days to either agree to that resolution or not agree to it. If you agree to it, it's not a part of your reportable history. If you don't agree with that resolution, you have the right to say no. Our office will meet with you and make a decision upon is there preponderance that you violated the policy. Is it more likely than not? So again, an FSR is not a part of your reportable history. It's not something that's notated in your transcript unless there's a subsequent violation through your tenure at Duke. So again, look at this as your get out of jail free card for my Monopoly lovers. And you just want to make sure that, hey, this is something that's minor. If you do something, pretty, um, dramatic, your professor isn't obligated to issue you an FSR. So yeah, just being mindful of that. So that's something that we do. It's another form of adaptive resolution where we want students to recognize certain things, but just be mindful of that. And again, that's on our website as well. Next slide. General policy, cannabis and other legal drugs. So cannabis and illegal drugs are not permitted on campus, meaning students may not consume, manufacture, distribute, sell, possess. Paraphernalia as well, bongs, pipes. Students are not also permitted to, distribute prescription drugs, things of that nature. I know THC is legal in some states, so just making sure you're abiding, by that as well, because that could be classified as paraphernalia here in North Carolina. So just being mindful of that. And smoking is not allowed whatsoever. So just making sure that, hey, I know some students may say, hey, Dean Lash, I was smoking off campus. I came to campus and the smell. Just being mindful of certain things because RAs are obligated to document what they see, what they smell, and things of that nature. And again, you're coming into a community where maybe people aren't used to that smell. So just be mindful. Next slide. And then I'll give it to Dean Jill for fire safety.
Fire safety, what a phenomenal time. We love fire safety. So one of the things we get asked a lot is like, Dean Jill, I would love to have a candle. You can have said candle. You cannot light a candle in a residence hall. So if you want to bring it, please bring it as decor only. Very cute. And maybe you open it up and the scent gets everywhere, but you cannot light a candle in a residence hall. So you can own one, but you cannot light it. Um, Please, when you go into your residence hall, you'll notice that you'll have like a smoke detector. Please don't cover it or hang anything from it. There should be a sprinkler head also in your room. Please don't hang anything from the sprinkler head. I can tell you from experience that if you hang something from it and it's a little too heavy, it will break and it will flood your room with dirty water. So please don't hang anything on your sprinkler head. So, like I said before, no tampering with any smoke detectors. All students must exit out of the building when you hear a fire alarm. I know that sometimes it's the most inconvenient time, it's not the funnest, but we are federally mandated to have a certain number of fire drills a year. If our students do not exit during those fire drills, we fail the fire drill and you have to have it again. So it's in the best interest of all of us to just exit the building when you hear a fire alarm because we don't know if it's a drill or if it's real, right? If you are, I talked to our fire marshal, and what he made clear to me was that if you don't see smoke and you were in the shower, we would much prefer you go back to your room, put on some clothes, and then head back outside. So we prefer if you can avoid going outside in a towel, don't need to. Right. I know that fire alarms are not necessarily things you can predict. So if you don't smell or see smoke, it may be a fire, it may be a fire drill. Go put some clothes on first and then exit out of the building. Um, as Dean Lash said before, we are a smoke-free campus, so even like legal substances like cigarettes or vapes, you are not to smoke those within the residence hall or on campus at all. In the residence halls, one, the ventilation system really is all connected. So if you smoke in your room, it will make everyone's room smell, and everybody doesn't love the scent of cigarettes, cannabis, or any vapes. So make sure that if you do choose to smoke, please smoke off campus because they can also set off the fire alarm and disturb the community. Next slide. All right, our guest policy. So students can have guests for up to 3 consecutive nights. You must communicate with your roommate for any overnight guests. So you will get a roommate contract when you come in, and you'll be able to set that roommate contract with your roommate. We really want you to talk this through and learn to have some compromise. It can't be that you can never have a guest, they should never come over here, but you can make compromises like, hey, your guests can't sleep in my bed. Like, I don't want any of your guests to eat my snacks. Like those things you can make compromises on, but we're encouraging you to talk to your roommate. And if it is something like consecutive nights, have a conversation. Maybe your roommate has a test that next day and or in that week and doesn't really want another guest in the room. So we need to be able to come to some sort of middle ground. And if you can't, you can always reach out to your RA and they can help you mediate that conversation. Um, you are responsible for any violations that your guest may have. So if your guest violates one of our community standards, like they may be asked to leave campus, but you will go through conduct with the Duke Community Standard because you're responsible for any violations that your guests have. And yeah, next, Dean Lash.
Alrighty, so hazing. The Stop Campus Hazing Act was signed into law in the beginning of this year by President Biden and President VP Harris, and it's effective July 1st. So July 1st, all institutions that receive federal funding have to publish, um, begin to keep track of any hazing findings and publish it on their website. So by the end of this year, any type of hazing investigation that our office handles, we will publish that on the website, and they have a definition for what hazing looks like. So again, hazing is defined as any intentional or reckless situation created, whether on or off university premises, that is potentially harmful to an individual's physical, emotional, psychological well-being, regardless of an individual's willing to participate or its relevance to an individual membership status in a recognized or unrecognized student organization. For those who who are planning on joining student organizations, whether they are recognized or unrecognized, being mindful that this is applicable to any individual Duke student that's involved. The purpose of this policy is to prevent hazing in all forms, promote safety and well-being of students, and affirm the institution's commitment to an inclusive campus environment, but also a respectful one and safe one. And again, hazing is also against federal law as well. So with that, we'll get into the details of it, and the fullness of this policy is also on our website. Next slide. Acts of potential hazing can be reported to our office. We have our phone number, Duke Police. There are going to be new reporting forms that you all will receive an email about that has non-academic misconduct, academic misconduct, things of that nature that you'll use. Ideally, a lot of students that I do meet with that don't want to report hazing, because again, it mentions potential acts of different types of harm. Maintaining anonymity of the source is possible, but we as a university will be limited to the extent of action that can be taken against any alleged respondent. Again, everything's alleged, but when you read that policy in its fullness and any questions you may have about it, I'm glad to answer, but just making sure that we want to make sure that you all are safe. Hazing is happening a lot more often than what we like to, know as an institution, and being mindful that we have these parameters around for students and student organizations, whether they're recognized or unrecognized, to make sure that they're having a good time, but at the same time, a safe time as well. Next slide. Harassment and creating unwelcoming environments. So our policy, any unwelcome conduct based on protected status that is sufficiently severe and persistent or pervasive so as to significantly interfere with or alter the conditions of education, employment, participation in a program, activity, or creates a hostile working or learning environment. With this, I think a lot of students fail to recognize this can happen in the classroom. This could happen within a residence hall, a floor, just regular talking. So just being mindful that, hey, any unwelcome or persistent conduct, like being mindful with how you show up as a human, because we're all humans, right? You can be joking, but one person may not classify that as joking, and they could submit a report. So just making sure that you're creating a welcoming environment versus an unwelcoming environment to abide by this policy. Next slide. With sexual misconduct, another thing that is very prevalent, unfortunately, but we want to make sure student organizations are educated within this. For students who desire to have a confidential resource, there's I want to say 5 to 6 confidential resources. If you use the QR code, you can scan it. It will show you who's confidential, who's not. Being mindful that any allegation of sexual misconduct, bias, harassment is initially investigated by the Office of Institutional Equity. And then if it's something that's not within their purview, but comes to our office, and our office will investigate that. So just being mindful that sexual misconduct refers to sexual, gender-based harassment, violence, exploitation, relationship violence, and sex or gender-based stalking, whether it's on campus, off campus, things of that nature. If students if students unfortunately go through any aspect of this, there are resources that us as an institution will reach out to that said student. But then in terms of knowing the outcomes of certain stuff, due to the Family Educational Privacy Rights Act, we may not be able to comment on those exact things. But again, in making sure that you all are aware of your resources when it comes to this. Next slide. Dean Jill.
All right, so general quiet hours. So quiet hours are 24 hours, but that's more like courtesy hours. I will say that, right? Like, so we're not saying that you can never be very excited about your community and being out in the hallways and playing music. We want you to build community, but please think about like all courtesy hours. Like some folks may be studying in their room, some folks may just want to be asleep and take a nap in the middle of the day, right? So let's make sure that we are being courteous of all of our folks around us. There are actual quiet hours, and those quiet hours on East Campus, on Fridays, they are 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. On Saturdays, they're 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. And so on Sundays, they are 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. These hours are listed on our website, and they will be listed in the halls as well. These hours are really just to give folks an opportunity to sleep, find a little bit of peace in their residence hall, and have some just some confirmation that a lot of rambunctious noise may not be happening in the halls during those times. Um, we ask that when you think about noise, if you can hear it 3 doors down, it may be a little too loud. So taking an opportunity to just turn it down. And we ask you as community members to, before you go to your RA, go try to talk to your community member yourself, right? It's a different feeling, but it'll help build that skill for you to help confront some conflict. Now, if you're nervous about doing that, by all means, please go talk to your RA. We don't want this to prohibit you from having a good night or anything like that, but we do encourage you to speak to your fellow community members. And if you are somebody who gets approached about turning down your music, be kind about it. Turn it down, apologize, and keep going, because at the end of the day, we want to have a community that everybody can live in. Next. So some prohibited items in the residence hall. I won't go through all of them, but you all can take a picture. That's also on the Duke Community Standards website and like on the Housing and Residence Life website. So you can take a look at those. The biggest ones that we see are candles, the LED strip lights. So the LED strip lights, not as much of a fire hazard as they are damaging to our walls. So when you take the LED strip lights off, they actually peel off all the paint, and we have to repaint the entire wall every year. If you do have those LED strip lights and they peel off the paint, you will be charged on your Bursar account for that repainting. So we really ask, think about some more string lights, things in that nature, versus like the LED lights that stick to the wall, because all of that paint coming off, you'll end up being charged for at the end of the year. Um, the other ones, I mean, obviously we talked about alcohol, and your own air conditioner. I promise you that if your room is a little warm, we can figure that out. So please don't do that. And should only have one fridge in your room. And this is just a wattage thing. If you have multiple fridges, you can just burn out your room, and then the lights will shut off, and that's not fun. So you should only have one fridge in the room, and you can work with your roommate to decide how you're going to get that and how you're going to use it. Next. All right, rooms and room damages. So when you come in, I really want to take this home. I said you remember 2 things from this. Here's my third, is you need to fill out your room condition report when you come in. So your first day, it's going to be so exciting. All the OLs are going to be screaming and putting all your things in your room, and it's going to be so fun. And as soon as you get into that room, whether, mom, dad, I will be looking at you, loved ones, whoever's dropping you off. please remind your student to fill out their room condition report. There will be a QR code and a handout given to them when they get their key. And you'll be able to just scan it. It takes 5 minutes. You'll take pictures of the room to make sure that any damages that were already there. So if there's some paint peeling, or if the chair has a little rip in it, we want you to report those damages up front so that when we go back through at the end of the year, you do not get charged for any damages that may have been in your room. Now, we hope that there are no damages in your room, but if there are, we want you to report those conditions so that you're not being charged for those at the end of the year. If you do not fill out your RCR, you cannot contest any damages on your bill at the end of the year. So we encourage you strongly to make sure that you fill out your room condition form. Your RAs will remind you. Anybody on this webinar, like I said, 3 things: your RA, RC, RCR. Fill out your RCR when you move in, so that if you need to contest anything, you'll be able to do that. The second thing is community damages. If you damage anything in the community, like you know, not so hypothetical person pulled a sign out of the ceiling, right? That person went through student conduct, and they also had to pay back for the damages that happened to the ceiling. So if there's any damages to the residence hall and it is narrowed down to you, you will be charged for whatever the damages are. Next.
All right. So, with that, with the damages, it just brought me back. Also, being mindful, you all, that you can be held responsible for your guest's behavior. So, let's say you have a guest that doesn't go to Duke and they decide to unfortunately damage something. If we find out that it's your guest, you may be, found responsible for their behavior. So, just being mindful with your guests, being on campus property as well. So, there's various meeting types within the conduct process. We have an administrative conference. It's an educational non-disciplinary meeting with the hearing officer. A hearing officer can be anyone from my office, any RC or ARC within residence life, or any university staff member. Ideally, an administrative conference is a meeting to where, hey, we have information that this may be you doing this. Let's say there's 3 rooms that the RA is receiving, phone calls, complaints about, hey, cannabis usage, it smells like cannabis. Every time the university police comes, knocks on the door, they can't figure out which room it is, but it's these 3 rooms. We're having a proactive educational conversation about alleged activity and any details used during that meeting. It could be used if it advances to something disciplinary, but an administrative conference is just that conversation, where we're letting you know what happens if we receive information that we have to initiate a disciplinary process. But administrative conference is just an educational meeting to let you know what's allegedly going on. Now, administrative hearing is a meeting to where we receive information. You have a party and there's alcohol, and the RA sees it and they have to document it, right? Because they're obligated to document what they see or hear or whatnot. This is a meeting where you'll have an opportunity to share your side of the story. Again, we want to know your information and whatnot. So with this, you'll get a notice letter via email. You may get a text message that's with it. And during that meeting, you have the following rights: to be informed about the alleged policy violation, hence we give you a notice letter; to be heard and give your perspective to the hearing officer; to receive advisement before you meet with, let's say, myself. Hey, you email our office, hey, I would like to receive advisement. We have students, staff, and faculty that are trained to give students advice on the conduct process before their meetings. And those are really helpful for them just to have a good peace of mind, right? And then to provide any contact information for witnesses that were there before, during, or after the alleged incident. And then to submit evidence as well. So those are the meeting types. Next slide. What happens if you violate the Duke Community Standards? So again, documentation that's happening. You're going to receive an email regarding the severity of the incidents. Students may reach out. You're going to receive an outreach from either an RC, an ARC, assistant dean of students, a campus dean, to have that meeting. During the meeting, you're given an opportunity. We're going to read you the incident report. We're going to ask you if there are any questions. Is something we're missing? We're going to ask you, what are your perspective? And then we're going to analyze the information to figure out, okay, hey, you're saying that you're saying something that conflicts with the incident report. Let me go back to whoever submitted it to ask more follow-up questions, and then figure out what happened based off preponderance. Is it more likely than not you did such thing or didn't do a certain thing? And then Once we give you a decision, we'll have our rationale. If you disagree with said decision, you could request a conduct board. It's a three-person panel, encompasses students, staff, and faculty that will rehear the case. They won't know of the decision, let's say I gave. And the caveat with that is after that actual conduct board hearing, they'll rehear the case, the incident report, all that. Our office makes no, we are not involved in whatever the outcome is. Now they will vote on if there's preponderance met, and then they will make an outcome decision, and the outcome could be the same that I gave you. It can be something lesser than, or it could be something greater than. That's the caveat of going through a conduct board hearing. Next slide. And with that, we have our Duke undergraduate reporting policy. This is also on our website. So again, for us, we will only report any disciplinary action that is in a finding that's responsible for anything that's of a sanction that's disciplinary probation or greater. So i.e., for folks who may find themselves in a alcohol situation, or let's say academic dishonesty, and you're worried, hey, I have this FSR, does this create a transcript notation? What about, I want to go to grad school, I want to join the FBI's, because we get so many requests from different third parties. Our office only reports out sanctions that are disciplinary probation or higher, not amnesty, not faculty student resolutions, not reprimands. There's a description of what a reprimand is in our outcomes in the website, breaks it down off of what that looks like. It's a formal warning. So being clear within that, I know a lot of institutions, they do report disciplinary probation, or it does create a notation on your transcript. We do not. So with that, it's just something that we want to let you all know to be transparent. And of course, suspension and expulsion is a permanent notation on your transcript. Next slide. Staying safe on campus. Honestly, DUPD officers are fully commissioned by the state of North Carolina and have arrest power. Blue light phones, please don't prop open doors. I know folks will be moving soon and wanting to prop open doors, or you know what, just want to make things easier. We want to make sure y'all are safe first and foremost. So just making sure you're not propping open your door. Make sure that, you know, if you're in the shower or if your roommate's in the room, making sure that someone's there. If not, lock your door. So again, you all are being safe, your belongings are safe. And then, of course, definitely jot down this number, DUPD, so that way you all are aware of your resources if you need any safety needs. Next slide. Dean Jill.
Yes, I can't echo more. Dean Lash telling us all, lock your bedroom door. I know it's like, Dean Jill, who's gonna rob me? That's crazy. No one's gonna come in here, and they might. So please lock your bedroom door. We're not saying it to be like, oh yeah, like it's just a suggestion. It truly is lock your bedroom door. Talk to your roommate, talk to them about carrying their key. I know some folks are like, I don't like carrying a key. I truly understand that. And this is just a lesson in life. Lock your bedroom door, right? That's, I can't say it enough. Walk with others at night. If you are alone at the library and coming back late, you can always call DUPD as well for a safe ride, or they'll send an officer just to walk with you to the bus. So make sure that you're always walking with someone. We are in like the West Campus, may be a little bit further off, but East Campus is still within the Durham community, so we can't always control our surroundings. So we just want you to be as safe as possible. Make sure you use the safety systems. The bus is always your safest ride. The Live Safe app is also really great. If you're a parent, I always suggest downloading the Live Safe app as well. If your student wants to walk home late from the library, they can always share their location with you, and it'll let them know. They have to let you know when they get back, and if they don't let you know in a certain time period, it'll like guesstimate it. Then it'll call 911 for them and give them the location, or for you, and give them the location of your student's cell phone. So the Live Safe app is something that I actually suggest to all of my family whenever they talk to me about college. So if your college or university have it, you should definitely have it. And you can also set that Live Safe app up with your roommate as well, so that they can make sure if you're walking home late that somebody is like walking with you virtually. Um, someone is If someone is sick or injured, please reach out to your RA or DUPD depending on the situation. If you just want to if you like, rolled your ankle and you just are needing a little bit of extra support, your RA can help you get connected with some external resources on campus. And if you're just feeling sick, we can also help you get connected with student health. So please make sure that you're just contacting someone. We don't want you to be going down bad by yourself. Um, Always evacuate when you hear a fire alarm. We already talked about this. You never know if it's a drill or for real. So get out as fast as you can. If you don't smell or if you don't see or smell smoke, then run back to your room real quick, get some clothes if you were in the shower, and run back out. Next. So the Duke alert system. So there are several systems on campus that will let you know for any like major things like a tornado warning, or any campus emergencies. So there's an outdoor like audible sound that will go off. Campus-wide emails and texts will go out for any major storms as well. Your RAs will have you putting you in a group me. Please make sure you join your floor group me and check your emails for your RC's emails, because there might also be just good information in there, and that's how we'll get information out quickly to you all if anything's affecting your individual residence hall. And please make sure you sign up for the Duke alerts. That's how you'll get the text messages from the Duke alert system. So make sure you sign up for those. And just to, I think to kind of almost cap us off, Duke University is a community. We're here to support you all. Like I always tell folks, colleges are like small towns. There's a lot of us here and we're all here to support you. The staff here genuinely is always willing to chat. I tell my team all the time, I always have room on my calendar to talk to students and parents. So if you get a little nervous and you want to talk to somebody, my line is always open. Email is probably the best way to get to me. But we are always here to chat and talk to your students, and I love taking students out for lunch. So if you see me, please let me know, and I'm always willing to take you out. Um, so we learn to work together, we learn to be together through hard times, through good times. So make sure that you're reaching out to somebody if you're having a hard time or even if you're having a good time. We want to celebrate with you. So we are a community and we hope that we can build together.
All righty. Thank you so much, Dean Jill and Dean Lash. We're now going to move on to questions. I'm going to keep your screen up for just a moment so you all can write down those emails if you have any other questions you want to ask personally. And once you get those jotted down, I'm going to stop sharing our screen and we're going to hop right into our Q&A. Our Q&A was bumping. All righty. So the first question I see here is an electric candle warmer okay as the candle isn't lit?
So because an electric candle warmer, there's a hot plate under it, you actually can't have it because it's an open source of heat.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I also see, do students receive advance notices of fire drills?
No, they don't. We're not allowed to send out advance notices about fire drills unless if you have an ESA or if you have some sort of documented accommodation that writes in there that you need to be notified before a fire drill, you will not be notified before a fire drill.
Thank you. And one more fire drill question that I see here, are they generally during the day or night?
We have to have one in the day and one at night, and that's just a North Carolina mandate.
Thank you.
So you'll have at least two a semester.
And staff doesn't even know when fire alarms are going. So it's student staff, everybody is finding out at the same time.
We're all up, disoriented, and waiting to get outside.
I see a couple of questions about folks staying over, so I'll try to lump those two questions together. First, are there any other guests permitted to stay overnight? For example, if my partner is a non-Duke student, can they stay and spend the night with me?
Yes, so your non-Duke students can be a guest in your room. Just be mindful that you will be held responsible for anything that your guest does. But yes.
And are there any specific policies that outline my significant other staying with me in my room?
Just right now, there is a policy saying there's no more than 3 nights, and that you need to speak to your roommate to make sure that they're also okay with that.
Thank you. Switching gears a little bit, moving on to FSL life. How does the hazing policy apply to fraternities and sororities since they're not affiliated with Duke on campus?
Great question, because we get that a lot. Because I still have great relationships with some of our students who are unaffiliated with the university. So we are not able to investigate organizations, but being that every student of an organization, whether they're unaffiliated or not, they're still a member, an individual Duke student. We can hold a individual Duke student responsible for violating said policy. So sometimes, I'll give you an example. We may get a report of alleged hazing, and if we find out that, oh, hey, this individual student was there, this individual student was there, we'll have that conversation with them saying, hey, we received information. We don't know if this is true or not, what's going on. So again, unless we have, something that um, strongly supports hazing, then we'll go to the disciplinary piece. But if we're hearing rumors, things of that nature, and people talk, right? We want to have that proactive educational conversation like, hey, I don't know if this is true or not, but if this is, I would encourage you to go this route because again, the Stop Campus Hazing Act is federal, so you're going to see more and hear more about practices that institutions have to display to keep the transparency, not just for students but for parents as well.
Thank you. One more question for you while I have you to hear, Dean Lash. How does the AI feed into the plagiarism aspect of academic dishonesty? Does it differ per class?
Great question. So certain professors, they're going to outline this in their syllabus. So the first thing they're going to outline is no AI usage. I know some professors may decide, oh, hey, you can do this, but not that. So they're going to be very clear within their syllabus. So I would follow that syllabus on top of these policies because again, AI has just been such a big thing in terms of, for us on the office side if professors submit reports that, oh, I think a student may have used AI, we tell them, hey, unless we have evidence to say that this student did it, we're not going to, adjudicate it. So we don't necessarily go off of belief. They have to give us some sort of documentation saying, hey, this is why I think that, because you all have the right to know that. So we've seen it on both sides of the fence. So we just want to make sure that anytime there's an allegation of anything, that there's some supporting documentation attached to it.
Thank you. Dean Jill, I'm seeing several questions about our infamous fairy lights, string lights, all of the sorts. So it's a two-part question. One, can students have fairy lights as string lights? And two, what if they don't have the adhesive strip? Can they still bring them then?
Yes. So the only thing that we ask, you can't make them like an extension cord, right? So if you have like Christmas lights are probably the easiest thing to think of, where you can kind of plug two sets of Christmas lights together, that becomes an extension cord and then that becomes a fire hazard. So you can't have that, but you can have the fairy lights, the string lights, as long as it's not the adhesive. So the thing about lights and any decorations really, it's more about the damage to the wall than maybe the item itself. So you can have string lights and fairy lights, just think more creatively about how you put them up. I know like I would test out how good different hanger or different adhesive strips are, like the command hooks, to see which ones work better because there are some that work a lot better than others, and some pull a bunch of paint off, and some don't pull paint off at all. So, figuring out which command hooks work best and try to go with those. So because they're a lot easier to come off, and when you get the good ones, they don't pull the paint off. So it's more about the damage to the wall than it is the item.
Perfect. Thank you. A couple of AC fan questions. Is there a central AC or do we have window AC?
So it depends on the building that you're in. So our red brick buildings, which are in our front yard, I think most, if not all of them, have AC units. In our backyard area, there's a mix of AC units in central air. So it just depends on the building that you're in.
And are folks allowed to bring fans into their dorm, like a
Yeah.
small desk fan or like one of those tower fans?
Yep, you can bring a fan into your dorm. Just don't think like industrial fan. Just, your regular house fan is totally fine.
Thank you. One of our good friends here has a series of questions that I'm going to fire out really quickly. So they're asking, what if our guest or what if their roommate brings a guest over and they stay past the 3-day allotment? Does RA step in to remediate that?
So we don't take note of when your guests come in and out. So if you're having an issue with your roommate, we encourage you one to talk to them, and then if that does not work, you can always, or if you're nervous about talking to them, like you can always reach out to your RA and they can help have that mediation, and we can enforce that policy of being like, hey, your guest has been here for over 3 days. You're gonna have to find a plan for them, and we're gonna be kind about it and make sure that like that person maybe has somewhere to sleep and things like that, but we'll make a plan for them to leave. But you should always be speaking to your roommate about how long they intend to have their guest over, and remind them if you're uncomfortable with it, remind them of the policy that you're only allowed to have 3 consecutive days, but your RA can come and step in to help mediate that conversation.
As a part two to that question, how often, if any, have you seen situations like this getting out of hand, or what's the outcome really that you've seen?
I've been in some form of residence life since I was a sophomore in college, and I've probably only had one situation where someone has overstayed. So it doesn't happen very often.
Thank you. I see a question. They ask if the kitchen area and or bathroom area is cleaned and maintained by custodial staff. Yes, it is. I think they're curious though about how often it's clean.
Yes. So every day your kitchen and bathrooms will be cleaned during the weekday. On the weekends, they don't come in and clean the bathrooms or the kitchen because the staff is off, but they'll be back every day during the weekdays. If anything, if there's an extreme situation, we do have emergency maintenance that can come out to help clean things up. But on the weekdays, they get cleaned every day. On the weekends, they don't get cleaned every day.
I've seen a few questions asking about guests, just letting you all know again that you are able to have guests stay over up to 3 nights in a row. They can be both Duke guests and non-Duke guests. And so your partner, your friends and family, your mom, your dad, your cousin, they're all welcome to stay as long as you talk to me about that in advance.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a few questions about a heated blanket. Um,
Yes. Yep, you can have a heated blanket.
okay, thank you. I'm on to the bathroom topic again. Are they all separated by gender?
Yeah, so we have three types of bathrooms. So we have all gender bathrooms. So those bathrooms, anybody can use them. We have male and female identifying bathrooms. So you'll find a bathroom for you on your floor or the floor above you. I want to say every floor has a female and male bathroom, and it might be a little bit sparser, but every community does have an all gender bathroom.
Thank you. I've seen a few questions about air purifiers, oil diffusers. Are those allowed within the residence halls?
Yep, you can have both of those.
Thank you. Let me clear out my Q&A screen right here. What about toasters? Can we have toasters in the residence halls?
That's a great question. Come back to me on that one. I haven't had it. I want to say maybe, but give me 1 second.
Thank you. I see a question about will this recording be available to us afterwards? Yes, indeed. This webinar is recorded and will be available to you while wherever you registered, either at our NSFP website or on the New Student Programs YouTube page. Just please give us about 48 hours to have those transcriptions uploaded and the recording edited to the webpage. I'm seeing a question about is there a curfew on East Campus?
There is no curfew. We do not monitor anybody's comings and goings.
One of our good friends here, she asked, is a mounting putty a better alternative to command strips?
I think I would test it out on your wall. I've never used a mounting putty, so I'm not positive. I don't know if Dean Aaron has had any use on that one, but I would test it on your own wall to see if paint comes off when you take it off. But if it doesn't, then I would say probably because command strips are kind of hit or miss.
Ditto, Dean Jill. You just want to be safe than sorry.
I see a couple questions about the RCR. Can you explain a little bit more about what that looks like, how to fill it out, and that process once folks move into their campus residence hall?
100%. So when you come in and you get your key and everybody's so excited to see you, you're gonna get a little like postcard thing, and on there's a QR code, and you scan that QR code and you go into your room, and it's just a couple of questions. It should take 5 minutes at max, and it's going to ask you about the condition of your room and is everything in your room okay? Is there any damages in your room? And if you say yes, there are damages in your room, you're going to take a picture and you're going to upload it into that form, and then that form goes to the front office. And they're going to record those damages. Sometimes they'll put in work orders to get things fixed if something just happens to not be fixed in that moment. And then they'll store that information. So when we go back around to do room checks at the end of the year and the RAs record any damages, you won't be charged for the things that were originally in your room. Um, I hope that helped.
Seeing some more questions come through about the maintenance report. So how would folks go about submitting a maintenance report for their space if they need to do so?
So there is a work order request form. And so on the back of your door, actually, there's a QR code for work orders, and you'll just scan that QR code, fill out the form, and then somebody 24 to 48 hours will be able to respond to you and get anything fixed. If it's an emergent thing, like you don't have lights in your room, like your light went out, somebody will be there more aggressively than 24 to 48 hours.
I'm seeing some questions more about adhesive on the walls. Just as a reminder, Dean Jill suggests that you all test adhesive on your own wall to see if the paint comes off. It necessarily isn't about what you're hanging on the wall. It's more so about once you put that adhesive up there, will the paint be damaged or the wall be damaged post you taking it down. And so command strips, as Dean Jill noted, can sometimes be hit or miss. So maybe you want to try using that blue putty that folks use to be able to hang things on their walls. I think we have time for a couple more questions. I'm trying to find ones that are really good for the group before we close out. Um, I see some questions about air fryers, toasters, and all things of that sort. I think Dean Jill is working on finding the answer for us now.
No, appliances, they move a lot faster than we do in life. So sorry. Um, I will continue to try to find that.
I see a question about if you live on East Campus, do you get some sort of understanding if you are late going to West Campus for your classes? According to my understanding, I don't believe you get an excuse being on East Campus to travel onto West Campus if you are late. Just please ensure that you are putting enough time on your schedule to get from East to West and West to East using our C1 bus system here. But Dean Jill, Dean Lash, please correct me if I am incorrect.
Now, I think that's pretty accurate. What was it? I think if something was to happen in terms of, the the ride from C1 and vice versa, definitely reach out to your professor. But there's not a grace period. I would just definitely, before classes start on the 25th, which is crazy. It's coming up so fast. Just testing out, your ability to get there on time, if not earlier. Because some professors may be more understanding than others, but don't want to, give you a false hope in that, oh, they're all going to be understanding because they may not.
Right. All righty, I am going to close out our questions. Please remember, Dean Jill, please go ahead.
Okay, I did find an answer. You cannot have a toaster or an air fryer. It's about the open coils. And I also put the student affairs link in the chat that talks about things that you should leave at home or things that you should bring with you.
Thank you. As always, here are those emails again. If you have any other questions, please be sure to reach out. All of your housing concerns to Dean Jill, all of your student community standards concerns to Dean Aaron Lash. If you have any other just Duke-related questions, email our office at studentorientation@duke.edu. As a reminder, next week we have our Preparing for First Year Move-In and EXO webinar as part of our STS series, which is occurring next Tuesday, August 5th at 6 p.m. Please be sure to join us there. And thank you all for your time today. Thank you, Dean Jill. Thank you, Dean Aaron.